In this video, we're going to give you a process to kickstart your transformational career change. A process that starts with some self-reflection to get you to the work you've always wanted to do. Let's get going. Hi, I'm Peixoto with WholeWorker, and I've been training professionals like yourself in career development skills for the past 20 years. Hey, give this video a like right now, and when you do, subscribe to my channel and ring that bell so that you get notification every time I post a new video. Now, stick with me to the end because I've got a free download for you that's going to take your career development skills to the next level. If you're considering a career change but feeling overwhelmed, some self-reflection is a good place to start. You know, very few of us have a straight trajectory with our career paths. There are twists and turns along the way. From changes in the economy to life events, all of those things affect our career path. And so some good, solid, self-reflective questions are mission critical to figuring out how you got here so that you can figure out how to get there, to the work you've always wanted to do. So we're going to start with some inner work right here. Let's get to it. Now, when we're talking about self-reflection, we're talking about the first stage of a 6-stage process to get you to transformational career change. Those stages are reflect, identify, liberate, envision, design, and engage. Let's talk about self-reflection. All right, now let's talk about self-reflection and how it can aid us in getting to the work we really want to do. Self-reflection is about taking a look at our career in the past and look at where we've come. And so that demands asking some questions of ourselves. Now, the types of questions we ask ourselves fall into two categories: open-ended question and closed-ended questions. Closed-ended questions are binary in nature: yes, no, positive, negative, true, false. They're questions that give us data about ourselves. For example, how many jobs have I had in the past 10 years, right? There's a specific number to that. That's a data-driven question. That's a closed-ended question. What we want to get to, though, and along with that data, is asking ourselves some open-ended questions. Open-ended questions get us to articulate our feelings about our career. So, how would I feel if I had to take a 25% cut in pay to get to the work I've always wanted to do? That starts to get at feelings, and this is where the true reflection comes in. So the design of the questions that we ask ourselves is really important. The other thing I want to mention here, as we're designing questions to ask ourselves, is I want you to ask yourself some uncomfortable questions, like that pay question. That might feel a little uncomfortable. So I want you to ask yourself some uncomfortable questions. It's just between you and your brain, all right? So the structure of questions is really important. We're doing inner work here. We're finding out what we really think and feel about the work we really, really want to do. Now, the last thing I want to mention here is I want you to ruminate over these questions. You know what that word means? It means to really linger on them, to think about them for some time. I don't want you to just have one session where you're reflecting. I want you to take a couple days to do this. So let some questions actually go unanswered. Just ask the question. You know, sometimes revelation comes when we're offline, when we're not thinking about it. The idea strikes you, that's why I feel the way I do about my career. So ruminate on these questions. Let them sit and simmer for a day or two. Don't look for answers right away. Hey, there's a great article I want to point out to you. The author's name is John Warner, and the article is entitled, "I Like My Work, A Reflection." It's perfect for this reflective stage that we're talking about. He takes a look and makes some great observations and picks apart reasons why you might like your work and not like your work. So check that article out. I'll put the link in the show notes below. And while we're at it, let me know, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you make it? Put that in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. All right, let's get to some questions that we could ask ourselves in this self-reflective stage. A first question might be, what led you here? Now, I don't mean what led you here professionally. I don't want to talk about your career trajectory, but what led you to the feelings that you're having about your career and wanting to make a change? I want to ferret out, and you want to ferret out, whether this is a feeling of the moment or a long-term feeling? That's what we want to get at. Is this just something you're feeling because maybe your boss said something to you that makes you feel a little down? Or is this something you've been feeling for a length of time, that you're not getting to the work that you really want to do? So what led you here? That's an open-ended question that gets to your feelings. Another one would be, who or what influenced you to take this career path? You know, all of us get influenced from outside ourselves. Very often, authority figures early in our lives influence our career choices. So who or what, maybe a book that you read or something you experienced, led you to this particular career path, and you don't feel that way anymore. So it's good to analyze who or what led you on this particular career path. Any seminal moments early on in life, it's good to reflect on those moments and see what was happening at that moment in time that led you to believe that this was the career for you, that is keeping you now from doing the work that you really want to do. For example, I started out in pastoral ministry, and one of the seminal moments in my life was early on in my mid-20s. I had an experience where I felt like this was what I really want to do. It was in fact a religious experience, and so I started out on that path, and after a while I felt like this was not my calling and moved into training, in particular career development training. So that would be a seminal moment that I would want to write down there. That's something that you want to go through. Any seminal moments that marked you the start of your career. Asking yourself the question, as I asked earlier in this video, what did you want to be when you grew up? Were there any passions that you've given up along the way? For example, when I was younger in high school and my college years, I actually wanted to be a professional pilot. I attained my private pilot license, but didn't go into that field professionally. So there are passions that we all leave by the wayside when we were younger, and as we grow up, we sort of let them go. Are there any of those passions that maybe we need to take up? That's another question you want to ask yourself. Another question is, are there any self-limiting stories that you're telling yourself? I'm not qualified for that, or I could never do that because of this and this and this. Those self-limiting stories, and we're going to go deeper into this as we get deeper into the 6 stages of the transformational career change process. But here we can ask ourselves, are there any self-limiting stories we're telling ourselves? Or this could happen very often, that someone else has told us that we're believing. So ferret out those self-limiting stories. Those are particularly interesting, especially ones that are negative, that are keeping us trapped in our current career. So those are the types of questions that we could be asking ourselves in this self-reflective stage. Another thing we want to do in this self-reflective phase is we want to take a look at our feelings, and so we want to apply some emotional intelligence principles. Now, I've got a number of videos on emotional intelligence. You can take a look at them right here, all right? But what we want to do right now is we want to take a look and make 2 kinds of lists. The first list is how we're feeling now about our current career trajectory. How are you feeling? Just list those feelings, as many as you possibly can. We want to get those all out of our heads and onto paper. How do we feel about our current career trajectory? Secondly, you want to make another list of how will we feel? How do you think you will feel in 5 years if you stay in the current career path? If you don't make any changes at all, are in the same job, doing the same thing 5 years from now, how will you feel? Now, the real exercise comes when we take a look at those 2 lists and compare them. Compare them together, and this is a part of the self-reflection. Is this where you want to be? This is the question that we're asking ourselves now. Is this where you want to be? Do you want to be living with these feelings? Or are there a completely different set of feelings you want to be living with? Like, for example, success and fulfillment and happiness, all of those feelings. All right? So that's the self-reflective stage of our 6-stage transformational career change process. I hope you found that information helpful in your career change process. Now, if you want to take it a step further, I've got a free download for you in the form of a Career Changers Checklist. On it are a number of action items that take you through the 6 stages of making a transformational career change. Now, in addition to that, there are clickable links in the document that will take you to additional videos that will give further explanation to those action items. So feel free to download that right now. The link is in the show notes below. Now there's multiple ways you can connect with the WholeWorker community, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, but the best way is right here on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe to the channel and ring that bell when you do. That way you'll get notification every time I post a new video. Hey, if there's something in particular that helped you in this video, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Or just type the word helpful. I'm Peixoto with WholeWorker. Thanks for watching.